Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here, and I'm very excited to be doing beer stuff. It has been over 3 weeks since I've done a beer review. Just didn't do any for a few days, and then got some crazy sickness. Been down and out for about 2 weeks. Still a little tiny bit of stuffiness going on, but I can smell, I can taste. Saturday afternoon, I get the rest of the afternoon off. We do beer. And as the season comes, we are in fest beer season. More specifically, we're going to be doing Evergreen Brewing. It is their Oktoberfest fest beer style lager. Yeah. Let's see. It says Castra Collins Evergreen Brewing. Fest beer style lager. 5.4% alcohol by volume. Done and done. That's all you really get on here. No date on here, but it's a fest beer and it's fest season, so I assume it's not all that old. I really do like Evergreen's labeling. Something about it. Very cool. Kind of traditional, kind of, sigil house shield kind of thing on there with a little bit of a kind of metal-esque kind of Oktoberfest writing. So, yeah, excited. Excited to review beer. Excited to have a beer, let's put it that way. Give this pour so we're landing. Other than that, I don't know what else I got for you other than can't wait to do beer reviews. So yeah, like I said, label, I can dig on that very much so. And as far as the beer goes, that's what I expect a fest beer to look like. I mean, it has a soft little haze to it that you typically get from your smaller craft breweries, and then a soft carbonation. Beautiful pinky finger, white as white, could be pillowy head on top of that copper penny colored kind of look to it. Definitely looks all the part of a fest beer. Let's give it a whirl. Let's give it a huff. Malt driven, as you'd expect on here, just a sweeter malt, a little bit of kind of brown bready caramel vibes on top of that. Nothing too crazy aggressive, but you're getting wafts of that off of there. Precursor to a bit of malt sweetness. Outside of that, really not much else. No big precursor or indicator of there's going to be a huge hop presence here. It really is kind of true to fest beer form, giving it this nice, sweeter kind of malt characteristic. Done and done. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. Yeah, it actually goes sweeter than you typically get from a traditional fest beer. Fest beers can actually run quite a gamut of styles. There's a lot of different, a little bit of extra fruitiness in there, almost like apricot-y kind of vibe. I'm kind of digging on this. But fest beers can kind of skew in and out of a bunch of different styles. I know there's a fest beer style, but typically when someone makes a fest beer, it's their Märzen or something low ABV box, something along those lines. This comes off to me is it's kind of like an Americanized twist on a Märzen in the sense that it does have that little elevated sweetness. Again, we're not talking gobs and gobs extra sweetness here, but that little tinge of extra sweetness, and then on the back end you get this really kind of apricot-y, fruity kind of hoppiness. That could potentially be some kind of pseudo off-flavory thing. I don't think that it's the case here. I think it's actually just the way the hops are kind of coming through on this sucker. So think a very subtle jammy marmalade-y, apricot-y kind of thing going on here with that nice kind of malt bill, that little dollop of extra sweetness on it. Again, contextualize that for a fest beer, for a German, Austrian style lager that we serve during fest season. Just that Scotia little sweetness, extra sweetness, so it definitely has that kind of United States kind of skew tweak on it without getting too far outside of what you would typically expect from a nice fest beer. Listen, I've talked about my love for Evergreen. I think they're one of the more, readily available, but also pretty spot on with all the beers across the board. And, if whether it be a hazy or whether it be something like this, it just kind of tickles me pink when breweries that are so heavily into one style crack out something like this and make a really fun version of it. It's definitely their version of a fest beer. It tastes like somebody's version of a fest beer with their own little fingerprint on it, and that's what you're getting here. That combination of that Scotia extra sweetness on top of that, without getting overly sweet. I want to keep hammering that home with that little bit of kind of apricot jam thing on the end of it. Again, we're not talking like hazy IPA level fruitiness here. We're not talking like huge ABV kind of sweetness here. But for the style, it gives you those little bit of tweaks. But I would probably say this, with it being relatively low ABV, 5.4%, it still isn't super like sharp or heavy on the palate, so you can drink a bunch of them, which is essentially what a fest beer is all about. It's about drinking beer, and this is a drinking beer. It just has a little bit of panache, a little bit of pizzazz to it. Pizzazz. That's how you say that word. I got a 4-pack of this. It will go drank. I will dig this very much so moving forward. And it's a very tasty fest beer. Let's break it down like a fraction for you. I don't know why. I just watched Ocean's 11, I think it was. Or 12, sorry. That's the one where he says that, Bernie Mac. Anyway, is this like the best fest beer I've ever had? No. Is it one of the Mount Rushmore's a fest beer as of late? I would put 4 ahead of this. I would, but it's leaning towards the top in a very cool rendition of what a fest beer could be. So while I do tend to want or have my fest beer skew very traditional, this steps out that comfort zone in a very fun way, and I'm glad I picked the 4-pack. But I want to say it was like $13.99 or something like that too. So price point doesn't suck. So yeah, Mount Rushmore status on the outside looking in, but very tasty nonetheless. Valued availability. I just said picked it up off a shelf, got it at Wegmans for $14. Leave you with, if you like what we like this beer. No shit, Sherlock, if you like what I said during this review, but more specifically, if you're okay with breweries putting their own little DNA, their own little fingerprint on a beer while still staying relatively in the Venn diagram of what that beer is. So this is definitely a fest beer, just has that little bit of, United States evergreeny kind of sprinkle on it, and I dig that. So if you dig those things, you'll dig this. I didn't stumble too much not having done a review for 3 weeks, so I'm kind of proud of myself on that one. Give me the old pat in the back and say, hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Evergreen, have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? Have you had this fest beer? What were your thoughts, feelings on that, or any of their beers down there? So want to check me out doing the social media stuff, you can. Massive Beers, podcasting stuff, Beer Massive. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of fest beer, because 'tis the season. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers, y'all.